Thank you, Mr. Ishigami. Well, I apologize for the harshness of my voice. I had a 45-minute speech addressing the National Youth Congress at De La Salle University, and it was amazing that the youth was talking about their role in economic development. They gave me 45 minutes as against 10 minutes in this forum. And therefore, I am torn between broad strokes, motherhood statements to some of you, and giving the specifics. So I ran a slide presentation that would have taken me 15 to 20 minutes. But I was assured by John Forbes that this will be uploaded anyway for the specifics. I'm impressed with the theme of this year's forum, Realizing the Potential. Because coming from the very successful Philippine Development Forum in Davao, I am here to present not what NEDA thought or thinks about infrastructure development, but how the various stakeholders view infrastructure development in accelerating Philippine progress. I begin with a slide that is very familiar to many of you. The role of infrastructure in achieving high, sustainable, and inclusive growth. And you will note that infrastructure basically covers two major roles. One, to spur economic growth, and here infrastructure is an enabler of growth, particularly in the tourism, agriculture, and industry sectors which were presented earlier. The second has to do with infrastructure in ensuring that we have human development and social protection. We see here infrastructure as a critical support to the provision of basic goods and services and to ensuring safer society. Next please. Let me not brag but put on record evidence the progress we have made in the last 2 years. And surely this is an abridged edition that simply highlights where we are. With respect to the legal framework, we have revised the implementing rules and regulations of the BOT law, including the finalization of the proposed amendments of the joint venture guidelines. In a month's time, we should be issuing the new set of guidelines that would make JVs more competitive. Second, with respect to investment on the ground, this administration has approved 61 projects worth 425 billion pesos, largely infrastructure. And thirdly, we look at the infrastructure master plans as our roadmap to development. You will notice here that we have highlighted the master plan for flood management in Metro Manila that runs up to 2035 of about 350 billion pesos. Relatedly, the NEDA, the Infrastructure Committee, has approved a high standard highway master plan within a 200-kilometer circuit radius. Next, please. Now, how are we positioning ourselves? In the strategic action, it is to accelerate infrastructure development as a catalyst for inclusive and sustainable economic growth, and under which are the following: increasing infrastructure spending, and this means raising infrastructure as a percentage of GDP from 2.6% to at least 5% of GDP in 2016. And this target is easily backed up by very specific investment proposals. Second, to strengthen coordination in the planning and implementation. It has been said that different agencies tend to do what they want. The public investment program consists of a comprehensive listing, and basically what agencies do throughout the year is they carry on what they think are ready-to-go projects unmindful of their synergy. So having said that, we we in the Philippine Development Forum agreed to adopt a coherent and efficient intermodal transport roadmap. And this is not just which roads, where they may go, but over the time period between now, 2016 and beyond, we know exactly what are the different toll roads as well as national and rural roads that have to be put in place in a form that is more integrated and convergent. We will pursue institutional and policy reforms in policy development and implementation. But after all the roadmaps and increasing in infrastructure spending, we believe that the more important role is to ensure that we fast-track implementation of other crucial infrastructure, particularly in the power sector, the development of power sources and update existing plants, develop and rehabilitate irrigation systems, provide flood control facilities, measures, as well as provide infrastructure to enhance access to basic services. With 1 minute left, let me just go through the different slides. And it shows the kind of infrastructure spending we need to shore up from a low level of 2.6%, roughly 240 billion pesos. We need to bring up this spending on infra in 2013 to about 450 billion pesos. What we have now in the General Appropriations Act is short of this 450 billion, but with PPP now rolling out, we think the private sector, including investments in the power sector, this 4% in 2013 is easily attainable. With respect to strengthening coordination in planning and implementation, we've agreed to have a more efficient intermodal transport. I think Secretary Jimenez was very right in saying that Public Works and DOTC finally have gone to agree on which particular destinations would have the right access. And this would therefore, in the case of Metro Manila, additional commuter lines. The specific rail lines are embedded in the presentation, but for lack of time, I know you know many of them, including Line 1 South Extension, Line 2 East Extension, MRT-7, which is coming back to the ICC very soon, and including the rehabilitation of the North and South lines, spanning north up Luzon and down south to Bicol. We will accelerate the implementation of the approved expressways. 2 Infracom meetings ago, the Infrastructure Committee, chaired by NEDA with Secretary Purisima and the other economic managers seated, agreed to implement even those that would fall under the second phase, and it was agreed that we would need to fast-track project preparation in order to fast-track implementation. So we can see, you can go down the line, since we are an archipelagic country, the Central Spine RoRo, which is now being studied by the DOTC, is some priority that we hope to push through within the remaining plan period. Next, please. Now, since we need the soft side of infrastructure development, some policy institutional reforms need to be carried out, among which are the accelerate the approval and adoption of the National Transport Plan and the Transport Roadmap to improve efficiency and effectiveness of the transport sector, transforming the fragmented water sector, which I think would have 27 agencies involved, into a strong National Water Resources Management Office that would provide greater coherence and effectiveness in water supply allocation as well as use. Formulate and adopt a national informal settlers upgrading strategy that would guide local government units in carrying out the resettlement programs of informal settlers, as well as a national resettlement framework, which would also be useful in terms of providing such guidance to housing-related agencies. Address issues to the full realization of the objectives of the power sector reform agenda, and provide a coherent roadmap towards operationalizing effective e-governance. We know that services are now being provided electronically, but until that roadmap is prepared, different agencies might have their own ways of doing business on the electronic platform. And since time is up, I would like to end my presentation with thanking you for giving us the opportunity. I have decided to stay for the Q&A portion, and I think at that time I will be able to spell out some details of these very broad presentations I have made. Thank you and good day.